welcome to today's episode of the Sports Break here on RVNTV.tv. I'm your host, Renee Washington, and joining me for this NBA Thursday is co-host Jonathan Stroud. And before we get into NBA news, I do have to say congratulations to the Minnesota Lynx, who won the WNBA championship last night.
Yes.
Won in Game 5, and Sylvia Fowles for being named the MVP. It was an exciting game. I caught the end of it.
I was excited. I caught the end too. So that was
yes.
exciting.
So congratulations to the Lynx. But without further ado, with the end of the WNBA season comes the start of the NBA season. So we're into preseason basketball. You got to go to a preseason game yesterday.
Yeah, got to check out those Philadelphia 76ers. They look good. Ben Simmons looked like he's the real deal, and the hype is warranted. A little worried about Markelle Fultz out there. He still looks like he's kind of kicking the rust off and looks like he is a true 19-year-old out there. But I'm excited. I think they're going to be a top team this year in the East for sure.
Yeah, I saw some good things. I saw some good highlights. I didn't watch the game, but
what?
I saw.
There
were too many games on.
Googling Cleveland.
The Cavs, the Minnesota Lynx were playing. They were playing. I couldn't keep up. But I did see some good highlights. Ben Simmons with some great passes and
he's looking like a baby. I don't want to say baby magic, but he definitely everybody's worried about him in that point guard role, but it looks like that's well suited for him, and that's probably his best position out there on the court. Getting out there, his court vision is kind of unmatched, and we haven't really seen a player like that in Philadelphia in a while.
Yeah, so in the last couple of days, we've had a chance to see OKC played against the Rockets.
Yep.
The Sixers got to play against the Grizzlies. The Cavs played against the Hawks. And we're starting to see some of these teams. Obviously, the starters are not playing. It's still preseason. Yeah. They're not playing a full game. It's not really serious.
Yeah, some guys out there. I mean, of course, your boy LeBron taking the day off, to get his ankle taped off. But his BFF, Dwayne Wade, made his debut out there in Cleveland, doing his thing. So, Cleveland's going to, we already said last week they're going to probably be the number one team in the East again. They're stacked.
Yes. So we have talked about the top 5 players in the league. Kawhi, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph, Russell Westbrook, you can put in that group. What about that next group? Who do you think is really going to have a breakout season this year, make some noise, maybe a younger guy, whoever, that's going to step up and break into that top 10 or 15?
Well, if you were asking the GMs, I mean, they all think it's going to be Karl Anthony Towns, as far as the breakout player. And,
Jersey resident.
Native,
I should say.
Yeah, I can see that. He's got all the tools. This is going into his 3rd year. Usually that breakout year for guys, who came over as a freshman. So you think about it, he's be a junior this year. So, you think of guys like him, Giannis, who was already on the come up last year. He's probably going to take it to the next level. Maybe this year, probably fall into the MVP conversations. And then you got some other guys who are coming up. I still like Joel. If he's going to stay healthy, as far as breaking out and being that guy, we always got to put that asterisk on him as far as health is concerned. But I see him as well, being a breakout candidate this year. What are you thinking?
I have to go with the Greek Freak also, which is partly why I wanted to ask this question. But I think the way he plays with his height, his athleticism, his ability to get to the rim and shoot, he is someone that's underrated because he is on Milwaukee.
Right.
And I don't think enough attention is drawn to him. He kind of reminds me of how Kawhi Leonard is. Great player, but he's not a flashy player. He's not a headliner as much as a Steph, Kevin Durant, LeBron, so you don't always see him.
Right.
But I do think there are some other guys, like you mentioned, Karl Anthony Towns, that coming in as an 18, 19-year-old with only 1 year of college under your belt playing against grown men. And it's a quicker, more physical level of play than college. You do need some time to get things going. Yeah. So Ben Simmons is another one that I'm really interested to see because he's now getting a chance to play.
Right. Yeah, we finally
hopefully he stays healthy. But
it's like Bigfoot. We hear so much about him, but we can't see this dude.
Exactly.
But yeah, we got to see him yesterday, and he's the real deal.
Right, and we got to see Joel Embiid, last year, not the entire season, but we at least had a chance to see what he can do. Ben Simmons is still a question mark.
Right.
I mean, you saw some good stuff last night, but we have yet to see him, a month, 2 months in the season. So there's a lot of players, I think, and especially in the Eastern Conference with the Sixers having such a young group of guys that we just don't know. That can really step up.
Yeah, I mean, you got all the rookies. This was a touted rookie class that came in. So it's going to be real fun to see these guys kind of grow up and mature and kind of really who's going to battle it out for that rookie of the year because, I mean, this competition is going to be pretty stiff. They left Fultz off of the, as far as getting any votes. I'm like, man, that's kind of disrespectful right there. And he's the number 1 pick.
Right. He didn't get a single vote for Rookie of the Year.
Nah.
And we have Lonzo Ball, who has been declared that he may or predicted to win the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Thanks to his father.
Is that all hype,
it's the ball hype machine. Yeah. Big baller brand. They out there with that hype machine. you know, listen, he looked decent in a couple games I saw him play so far, but, you know, it's like all the rest of these guys. They're going to take their lumps, and they're going to probably hit that rookie wall. So it's just, I think the guy in Utah, Donovan, I think Mitchell from Louisville, he looked pretty strong when I saw him in the summer league, and you know that'll probably carry over. And then Dennis Smith Jr., who's with Dallas, you know, another player that I think is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think sometimes with the rookies, I mean, someone like Lonzo Ball right now at that hype of everything around his family does carry him. So if you're thinking of names, he's a name that always comes to mind.
He's but playing in La La Land too,
right? So, and he had a good dunk, you know, but then he turned around and sprained his ankle, or whatever. That doesn't mean that he's not a good player. Just saying in general.
Right.
So it's hard because there are guys like a Jason Tatum that are a little more that you don't hear about as much, and even you said Dennis Smith, and different guys that you don't get to see as much, and they're on teams that are like middle of the barrel, not a big franchise like the Lakers, or not a number 1 draft pick like Markelle Fultz, but they're good players too, and I think those are actually the guys, in my opinion, as rookies that end up doing better. Yeah. So if you're on a team like the Celtics and you have Kyrie now around you, and you have, you know, Gordon Hayward and different people around you, some vets around you that can help you step up instead of having to step into a team and be the go-to guy right away. To have, you know, some time to kind of get the rust off, get used to it. I think those are the guys, those not top round draft picks, but the next group is, I think, where we have a little more success.
Yeah, no, you're right. When you're stepping into a team who's already established and has, you know, been to the playoffs the previous year, it just makes the transition easier. You know what I mean? Instead of having all that weight on your shoulders coming in, you know, it's going to be fun for me because Ben, he kind of mortgaged everything, put all his chips in, because last year he definitely probably could have got back out there and played, but you know, he has that clause with Nike where if he gets Rookie of the Year, he gets a couple extra mil in his pocket. So, you know, I think he's, you know, aiming for that Rookie of the Year this year. It's going to be, you know, fun to see if he can pull out and with all the competition that he has in front of him. So.
Yeah, should be very interesting. So when we get back from this break, we're going to talk a little bit about some surprises of the preseason and the offseason, because it was a very eventful offseason.
Oh, sure was.
So don't go too far. We'll be right back after this break.
Why travel to Philadelphia or Atlantic City for memorable and diverse dining? Experience the unique style and ambiance of Napa Valley wine country right here in the heart of South Jersey. At Terra Nova Restaurant, it's casual yet sophisticated with contemporary American cuisine. Enjoy South Jersey's best sushi and raw bar, the freshest seafood, thick, delicious steaks, pastas, appetizers, and desserts. Our wine bar offers selections from virtually every major wine-producing region in the world. Choose from over 200 wines, with 50 available by the glass. Join us at Terra Nova for Wine Down Wednesdays with special half-price bottles of wine. Sit, sip, and enjoy. Our bar happy hour features sushi at half price. Every Friday night, it's live music and our pasta and wine Sundays. Spotlight 25 wines at $25. Terra Nova Restaurant has a wonderful Northern California decor with architectural touches exuding elegance and warmth. An excellent choice for private parties. Our rooms can accommodate 20 to 120 people. Choose the Napa Room, Sonoma Room, or the Monterey Room. Terra Nova Restaurant is perfect for friends to meet, and for added fun, enjoy our brand new wine and martini bar. Great food, great wine, great friends. It's Terra Nova Restaurant.
Apple Ridge is about freedom. Apple Ridge is about community. Apple Ridge is about home. Apple Ridge, everything you want, more than you expect. Welcome to your new neighborhood. Apple Ridge Senior Living. Enjoy a maintenance-free, affordable luxury lifestyle today. Visit appleridgeseniorliving.com and find out more about the Apple Ridge.
Welcome back to the Sports Break here on RVNTV.tv. I'm your host, Renee Washington, and joining me is co-host Jonathan Stroud, talking NBA news. So we had to start off by congratulating the Minnesota Lynx on winning the WNBA championship last night, and then moving into the start of the NBA, talking about some players that we think will do well this year. But now we have to talk about the offseason. So there was a lot of drama, news, changes.
Most in NBA history. I mean,
yes, this offseason felt like we were still in season. Every day was something new.
Like Love and Hip Hop NBA version.
My ESPN notifications, Bleacher Report, all that was blowing up every day. So I had to ask you, what is the biggest I guess most surprising news that you heard this offseason?
I mean, the two storylines that stick out for me were OKC with Paul George going over there, and because it wasn't sure where he was going to go, and then OKC just pops out of nowhere, so that was like a shocker for me that finally Russell got some help. And then I guess the other thing was with Kyrie asking for a trade and trying to go back or get out of Cleveland and stop playing with your boy LeBron. So that was also the two biggest headlines, I think, coming out of the offseason. And it really kind of changed the shape and dynamic of teams like, for the West. I mean, the Thunder now look like a legit threat to the Warriors, and Cleveland looks like they, could probably do something as well.
That's true.
And, Boston, I think they're just, it's kind of a wait-and-see game with Boston. I mean, it looks good on paper, but, paper's one thing and getting on the court is another thing. So,
yeah. I think that's a good point you make, because I know for me, even when I've been watching the preseason games the last couple of days, I'm like, wow, they have that person on their team. Like, it really hasn't registered exactly who's on each roster.
Yeah.
And I need like a
who?
rundown of who, like, each team and each roster, because right now I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't realize, because the big players that got traded trade or picked up with each free agency. But there are other guys that were moved in there too that are like good role players, get some good minutes, not a headliner. But I'm like, wow, all right, the league is completely different.
It is. It's totally reshaped. I mean, you got teams like Minnesota out there with Jeff Teague and some other guys under the radar. Besides the Jimmy Butlers that went over there, and it's like these teams are totally changed face, and it's going to be fun because chemistry. Basketball is all about chemistry,
exactly.
And so once you have all these moving parts going to different teams. It's just going to be a matter of time before, see how they kind of mesh and all come together. I mean, the biggest team for me is going to be seeing the Thunder because, they have probably the most turnover and have the most, firepower that they brought in with Russell Westbrook. So it's just going to be interesting to see how those three guys kind of come together and mesh.
Yeah. Now, is there anything that, like a shake in my head moment that you were reading it and you're just like, what?
Well, I mean, we have the most recent of last week with your boy LeVar coming out and taking out his son out of high school, and now he's going to homeschool him, and he's going to train him up and get him ready for the league. So I mean, he never misses a moment to get some headlines going. So I mean, that was last week's big takeaway as far as what's going to happen with that situation. And it's one thing to take your kid out, but when you start talking about the program and the coach and everything like that, that's when it kind of crosses the line, I think, where he's just trying, being LeVar at that point,
Right.
So
that's true.
I don't know what's going to turn out from that. What's your whole take on that?
Well, we talked about this on Tuesday, and since then, I feel like I've been talking about it nonstop. Like, it just keeps coming up because a lot of people have opinions on it, and I know I'm very skeptical for both sides of it. So on one side, I agree with what he's doing, actually, because as a celebrity, going to high school is not the same for every other kid.
Oh, no.
And some people are like, oh, he has to have that balance. He has to have that normal childhood. What celebrity, what all-star player, what top player or athlete or just anybody that's famous has had a normal childhood? Right. You can't walk down the halls like every other kid. Yeah. You have, for him as a guy, you have girls that are going to be trying to talk to you. You have different people that are going to try to get your autograph. Their games are sold out every game because people are just trying to see him. Right. So you really can't focus as a 16-year-old boy to try to focus in that environment. It's just not possible. Yeah. So that part of it I do actually understand. As a parent, you take your kid out of that environment, you give him homeschooling, you help him train, you help him focus, because his goal is the NBA. Right. It's not to be scoring 90 points in a high school basketball game. Yeah. No, you make a great point there, and it's not like he's a one-off where he's the only kid. Right. So I mean, he already has a big brother who's a Laker, his other brother who's at UCLA. So I mean, it probably does make sense for him to kind of be more to a confined environment, being homeschooled, rather than have. Everybody just almost like groupies now. They're just trying to latch onto you and be your friend just because they want to come to your house and meet LeVar or something like that. So you can't get around groupies. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah. But for his brother that's at UCLA, it's a different atmosphere being in college and a professional than to be a 16-year-old kid. That mentally you're just not ready to handle that. Right. Yeah, because especially now with social media, so everybody gets caught up in a couple video clips here and there, and then it just takes off from there and goes
overboard. So I actually do agree. It's probably a good decision for him to be out of the public eye of high school and just let LeVar train him up and see what he can do.
So I do have a question because I don't know if you guys watched, but on First Take yesterday they were talking about this too. Mm-hmm. And there was actually an article written that LeVar Ball is the worst sports dad ever. Right. So I think I'm going to ask you that same question. Do you think that he is the worst sports dad ever because of this move?
How do we quantify the worst sports dad? Like, no. You can say what you want about LeVar Ball, mm-hmm. but, the guy really, he's kind of put himself, from a marketing standpoint, I don't want to say genius, but
it's okay.
It's a lot. It's a lot of things. From having the $500 shoe out there, and then the numbers are kind of mm-hmm. hairy on what he's kind of brought in from those shoes.
Right.
And then he's also has a sick wife at home that he's taking care of. He has 3 sons he's raised up. You never heard of any mm-hmm. trouble with these boys coming from them. So I don't understand how you quantify the worst sports dad. Is he too over the top? Yeah. Does he make some outlandish comments from time to time? Of course, but. If you take that away and just look at strictly his raising of the sons mm-hmm. and where they're at and kind of where they're going, I think he's done a great job.
Yeah. So before we go to break, I do have to say I agree. I think as a dad, as a father, giving his kids the best chance to succeed, from a marketing standpoint, as a businessman, to have their own show. Right. Now they have their own, brand. Mm-hmm. They have their own. They each have their own path. So. Right. Lonzo's now in the NBA. You have one at UCLA, and you have one that's now being homeschooled, but it's also a very good player. Yeah. So you don't have a kid that's a drug addict or an alcoholic or anything. These are 3 young men that are doing exceptional things.
Right.
And my thing is, for any parent, Venus and Serena Williams' dad, and you look at the different parents, Kobe Bryant's dad, parents that have raised their kids to be excellent, whether it's a single mother or a father, whatever. They have had to put themselves on the line to get their kids to where they are today.
Right.
You have to have some sort of sacrifice. You have to have some sort of balance between being their parent, being their manager, and then also exploiting them to get them the best exposure possible. And that's what he's doing. Yeah. Now, I think his little rants and, he was on WWE and all that stuff, that's a little over the top.
It's fun stuff, though. But if you think about it, it's partly it's the media. They put those cameras in front of him. And he's going to talk. Right since last year when he said his son's going to be better than Steph, he knows what he's doing. He's getting those headlines rolling. Yep. He's making sure you guys are focusing on these balls because, listen, according to him, they're going to be the next big thing. So what's the worst thing you can say about these kids? Really? There's no scandal?
Yes.
You can't really say anything about the kids because they haven't really done anything except for the one kid saying the N-word on WWE, which is just, some kid stuff. But as far as LeVar Ball, what's the worst thing you can say about him? Is that he makes crazy comments from time to time. So
he was on First Take. He's been on having multiple interviews. Every sports show every network is talking about them. Yeah. We're talking about them. They're a big topic of conversation. Lonzo Ball was the MVP of the Summer League and then turned around and has been predicted to be Rookie of the Year. It's working.
Classic example of taking 15 minutes and he's going to turn that into 15 years. So, hats off to him for that.
So we do have to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to talk about the way the NBA has changed their All-Star game. So don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Experience.
Hi, my name's Christy Christo.
And I'm Nikki Haley.
And we are the hosts of License for Success, a marketing and money real estate show that helps you find the best possible rates and terms available and properties for you to succeed.
Our show is sponsored by TAM Lending Center out of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and we're here on RVN TV every Thursday at 11 a.m. So check us out this fall. We're part of an all-new lineup. We'll see you guys then.
See you then.
At Giorgio's, you'll find unique and exotic designs.
Oh my God, gorgeous.
That is spectacular.
Beautiful. Wow, that is gorgeous.
That is gorgeous.
That's got to be from Giorgio's.
That's got to be from Giorgio's.
He only shops at Giorgio's.
Visit us today in the Freehold Raceway Mall.
Welcome back to the Sports Break here on RVNTV.tv. I'm your host, Renee Washington, and joining me to talk about everything going on in the NBA right now is co-host Jonathan Stroud. So we talked about our predictions for the season. Of course, we had to talk about Lonzo Ball and LeVar and LaMelo and family. But there has been a recent change in the NBA All-Star Game. So the 67th All-Star Game that will be played at the Staples Center in Los Angeles is now going to be formatted. So instead of East versus West, there's a captain picked, or 2 captains picked, and the coaches will be picked based on, the conference. So there will be an Eastern and Western coach.
Right.
And the 2 captains will pick their teams. Like we're back on the playground in elementary school.
Back on the playground. and I guess they're trying to add some type of defense or some more competition level to this thing, because it's kind of really gotten out of control the past couple of years as far as this just turned into a world, an and one mixtape the whole game. Like it used to be where you played 2-3 quarters and then the fourth quarter is defense. We're locking down. Right. Somebody's trying to go for a victory. It hasn't been that way the past couple of years, and it's kind of been unwatchable as far as I've been concerned. I mean, it's cool to see all the alley-oops and dunks in the first half, but then you want to see some competition, out of these guys, and man up. I mean, NBA players have the biggest ego, so you want to just see some pride out there as far as playing some defense. So they switching it up this year to see what they can do.
I know in baseball, I talked about it way shows back, but how they also changed their All-Star format this past year to be more competitive. So it wasn't about home field advantage for the World Series, but it was now just a game.
Right.
And you have the NBA now switching, so it's also trying to make it just a game, not East versus West, like most sports, but instead having captains that are picking teams and they can pick whoever they want.
Right.
So I think part of this may be because of all the recent trades and things that have happened in the league.
Yeah, and if it was up to me, I would have all these guys lined up in the gym, have the captains out there like you did when you was growing up, and you just pick them, and you could probably see it on TV, just see who's going to pick who, and see who's going to end up last, because these, like I said, these guys are very egotistical, and there's some fractured relationships, Kyrie, LeBron, and of course LeBron gets the first 3 picks. It's going to be Chris Paul, Carmelo, and Dwayne Wade. He's going to have his banana boat crew out there for at least one game. They're going to all play together, So, but no, if I was them, I would line them all up in the gym. You can play Ralph Tresvant, sensitivity in the background, since these guys are all sensitive. Ralph Tresvant, he was a new addition in case you don't know.
Right. Please. Please, don't let me break out the moves right now.
But line them all up and see who gets picked, and and let it roll like that, instead of probably doing some closed ballot where the players are going to say who they're going to pick. I mean, that would be more fun, I think, doing that way. And I also think they're going to say they're going to play for, winner goes to some charity, goes to charity of the trade. So at least that'll be some incentive as well for them to try to really be more a little competitive out there. So kudos to the NBA for trying to do. I think Adam Silver sees some things.
Yes.
And he's always trying to rework, whether it be the tanking, whether it be the All-Star game. So
that's true.
He's working on some things, and this might be the first pin to drop as far as them going away from the playoff format, the East and West. So this, who knows?
That's true. Because I have also heard a lot of discussions about the playoffs now that the West is stacked, and we can all agree that it is. That they're going to move from having it East versus West and you meet up in the finals to have the top teams, you split them that way or something like that. But in terms of the All-Star game, I think it's going to be interesting to see if I'm LeBron, do I pick Kyrie? Do I pick Kevin Durant? Like, who do you
think you're going to pick Kyrie?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Kyrie be the last pick for LeBron, but, I don't know. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Like, who do you go with? Do you go with, they're all talented guys. If you pick Russell versus, James Harden versus Kyrie,
they gonna pick whoever their friend is. But let's be honest. These guys are they got their cliques out there, so they're gonna first pick whoever is in their clique or who they roll with, and then after that, it'll be interesting to see who they pick as far as that once that circle is out of the way. But it'll only be fun if they can really televise and you can get to see who's picking who. And,
that is a great idea. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think that would be the way to go. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a game within a game. Who these guys going to pick up and choose, and it's like on the playground. I choose you, and then who's going to be left there standing, because he's going to have a bad taste in his mouth. You're the last player picked for All-Star. So
at least you're in the game, but yes, that does make you have to feel some kind of a way.
Yeah, a little something.
Yeah, so I know I'm looking forward to the All-Star game now, and you don't like to watch. I didn't really like to watch either until the end, but for kids, I know they love watching it, because it is like watching.
I love all the events.
2K, or it's like playing a video game.
Yeah, but the game is kind of like, it's just got a little out of control the past couple of years. It's I understand what they're doing. They're out there putting on a show for the fans and everything, but kind of give me some comp, man. D up, hit the floor. I think if Joel was out there, he said before he needs to be more defense out there. So.
he's got to stay healthy. But that being said, all-star games in the past were a lot more competitive. I think it's time for the league to get back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, but for you guys, we are out of time. Thank you for joining us here on the Sports Break today. Of course, you can always find us Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday right here on rvntv.tv at 9 in the morning. I'm your host, Renee Washington, with Jonathan Stroud, and we hope you have a great Thursday.